One thing that kept my mind together going through this major transition in my life from stopping alcohol, stopping triathlon, something that
Yeah.
I thought about for 30 years, and then asking for a divorce. 90 days, you will start developing a habit. Once those
Mhm.
habits become habits, then they become non-negotiables. You don't even think about it. You just go
Right.
and do it. I started seeing a change in myself after I stopped drinking alcohol.
You could have given up, but you didn't. You could have stopped believing, but you didn't. You could have kept living their expectations, but you decided to make this life your own. And in turn, you're here. Hello, everyone. Today we're meeting Jen Rulon. She is a life coach, a fitness coach, an author, and a speaker. Hello, Jennifer. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Anna. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So let's just start a conversation by exploring your story of becoming the person you are today. What was the pivotal moment for you when you realized that this is your passion in life?
I think for me, I should back up a little bit to where I am today because I didn't just jump into the life coaching. I jumped into more of the triathlon coaching. So I am a 15-time Ironman triathlete who went to the Ironman World Championship in Hawaii. And that was, if you don't know what an Ironman is, it's a 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile bike, and a 26.2 marathon run. And when I found fitness, when I found triathlon, it was beautiful. But I think that monumental point for me going into who I am today was more of my last Ironman. It was at mile 1.5 on the run. It was in 2019. And I looked out into the ocean and I just sort of just sucked it all in. And I said, Universe, I need two things from you. I said, number one, I have, I'm in my top two of my age group and I go to Hawaii again. Or number two, I have the best race of my life. And it doesn't matter what age group, what number age group I am in. And I finish my race, cross the finish line, hands like dropping in or head dropping into my hands because I knew I crushed it. And I asked my mom and my ex-husband and my stepmom or my mother-in-law, I said, what place was I? Or they said what time. I asked what time I did the
Mhm.
race or what was my time, and they said a 10:46:47. I visualized a 10:46:23.
Mhm.
I kid you not. And then I placed seventh in my age group, and I knew I was done with
Wow.
triathlons. And
Wow.
it was that monumental moment of thinking, because I was in the triathlon space for 30 years. I was dreaming about getting to Hawaii for almost 30
Mhm.
years. And when I had that aha moment of being done, I thought, oh God, what am I going to do now?
Wow. Yeah. So sometimes we have this big goal in our life and we start chasing our dreams and have that goal always in front of us, visualizing
Mhm.
it. And we think that's all we need to be happy, to be
Right.
fulfilled. And once we reach that level, and that's not exactly what we've been looking for all this time.
Yeah.
Even though it is impressive, it is an achievement, and it's something that a lot of people never done in their life. This is something
Right.
we could be proud of and we should be proud of, but it's
Hmm.
not what really makes us happy and what gives us this fulfillment. It's just
Hmm.
a next stage in our personal development, don't you think?
Correct. Because I would say after I did Ironman Hawaii in 2017, I did two more Ironmans and I wasn't happy. I was tired. I was cranky. I was losing muscle mass. Here I was going into perimenopausal. It was just all these things. It's like, why am I chasing something that I've already accomplished. And so when I
Yeah.
had that aha moment for myself out on that course, I knew, and when I crossed that finish line, I knew that I was done, and I didn't need to stop chasing that finish line anymore.
Yeah. So that experience that you had all these 30 years up to that point, what really taught you, kind of like lessons in your life and some kind of insight that you extracted that propelled you forward towards your career as a life coach and a fitness coach, as well as I know you wrote some books on
Hmm.
certain topics in your niche. So if you
Hmm.
can just explore on what this experience gave you in terms of understanding yourself, connecting within your true self inside of
Hmm.
you, and what inspired you to birth all this creation as being a
Yeah.
service of other people.
Oh, that's beautiful. I need to take that information. That was beautiful what you just said. I I think the biggest thing for me is what I realized is that I started becoming a woman,
Mhm.
and I started tapping into my femininity, where when I was chasing that finish line, I was in constant competition with myself, maybe with, in my view, maybe at times with my ex-husband, with everybody on that course. I was in that very strong masculine energy,
Mm.
and I felt like I was tired. It wasn't that I was tired from swimming, biking, and running all the time, strength training, counting my macros, doing all of that. It was that I wasn't nurturing. I wasn't allowing myself to be a feminine woman.
Mm.
And once I shut down that competition side, then I started digging deep on going into the spiritual side, the emotional side of being a feminine. I realized I forgave my dad. My dad passed away 16 years ago, but it was something that I had to let go because I was having those hashtag daddy issues, because
Mm.
I thought dad was, this person, when in reality he was dealing with his own crap,
Yeah.
and so once I let go of that constant competition, and then when I realized, I started seeing a change in myself after I stopped drinking alcohol.
Mm. Okay.
And I am 4.5 years sober. And not that I drank a lot, but I started recognizing patterns that I didn't care about myself because I saw it in my dad.
Yeah.
And a year before that, my brother stopped drinking alcohol. And all of a sudden, I started recognizing, oh God, I was masking like my issues. And so with alcohol, and once I started letting that go, letting go of the competition, letting go of the alcohol, I started finding that femininity of being who I am today.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think a lot of us finding ourselves being really distracted by outside noise, and we try
Mhm.
to kind of like find escape from facing our emotions through different type of either addictions. It could be even like watching TV, eating, or alcohol, other substances, but it's something like subconsciously driving us towards not looking into what's really is trying to get our attention, really. And the more we sit with our emotions, the more we feel them, it's
Mhm.
just gonna start passing through us. We're gonna start letting go of what's been holding us back all this time, what we had attachment to without even knowing about it,
Mhm.
right? So I
Mhm.
know you noticed it for yourself, and a lot of times we just need to become present, to be aware of what's
Yes.
happening, to see it for what it is, and let ourselves be in that moment. Sometimes it could be uncomfortable, unpleasant emotion, but I know for myself, and I know a lot of people who experience different type of emotions, and it's the same thing. The more you feel it, the less a power has over you over time.
Mhm.
Don't you
Mhm.
think?
Agreed. Agreed. I feel like I've stepped up as a woman over the last 5 years. I feel like I've stepped up as a business owner, as a girlfriend, as a
Yeah.
lover. I just, and it's beautiful because I started finding who I was as a woman versus trying to prove myself. And
Mhm.
I did a TEDx talk about,
Yes, I watched it. It's
oh, thank
beautiful.
you, thank
I'm
you. And
gonna
the
put in show notes for people to see. It's very
Thank you.
inspiring. Very.
Thank you. And that TEDx talk was about my dad, of trying to get
Yeah.
that constant validation from my dad. And once realized, okay, I'm done with triathlons.
Mm.
I mean, I had a two-part of trying to get to Kona. My second why was my grandfather, and I
Yeah.
talk about that a lot. But I had a two-part, and I think it was that one, trying to get my dad's attention, and
Mhm.
that was the TEDx talk. And it that was one of the best therapy sessions I ever did, was writing that TEDx talk because it
Mhm.
made me recognize what was going on. And then after I got done with the triathlons, after I accomplished my goal to get to Kona, I realized, wait a minute, I don't need this. I don't need to validate myself anymore crossing that finish line. I did everything I wanted to do. And then uh, and like I said, and when I stopped the alcohol and started
Mm.
digging deep on who I am meant to be and who I'm becoming, it was a beautiful aha moment for me. But in the long run too, I mean, it also, we went through a divorce, and
Mm.
that was hard because people are like, "Oh, you're having a midlife crisis." I'm like, "No, I'm going back to that girl that I once was."
Mhm. Yeah, and with you recognizing that, seeing the pattern for yourself, because we need to see that pattern or that loop that we're in, and we really like on repeat without
Hmm.
recognizing. But the more you become aware and bring that attention to it and make it really a priority, we have to make
Correct.
our mental and physical health a priority to really give ourselves that time that we deserve.
Hmm.
And like you said, we don't need to seek that validation or approval externally
Right.
because we are what we need, and that's all that matters.
Hmm. That's beautiful. I like that.
Yeah, and with you really bringing that to the surface, you've noticed that different patterns of your life, either that personal relationship or like career-wise, it's all been connected in one way or another. And it's all
Mm-hmm.
been connected to the same type of feeling, probably, that you experienced from your childhood, perhaps.
Hmm.
But, you know, all of us has something that's going on. It's just matter of us to be willing to look at it because it's
Correct.
usually scary. We try to avoid it.
Very.
Oh no, I'm not gonna look at this. We know
Hmm.
that it's not something that we want to feel.
Hmm.
So I think it takes courage to really look at it in the face and crush it, and there
Yeah.
is no avoiding it. You just need to go through that.
Yeah, you do. And people have asked me numerous times, like, how did you stop drinking? And I said, I went cold turkey. I absolutely went cold
Mm.
turkey. And I started in 2019 when I did my first trip down to Costa Rica, and I got upgraded to first class. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to have a mimosa. I'm celebrating on going down to Costa Rica. And I thought, and when I got down here, I'm like, okay, I'm in a third world country. I don't really know the language that well. I mean, I know
Yeah.
bits and pieces of it. I didn't want to go out and drink. And so then when I went home, all of a sudden I'm like, I don't need a drink. I don't need a drink. It's Christmas time. Why do I need to have a
Mm.
drink? And then all of a sudden New Year's happened. And then I was like, oh, I got through some of the hardest months of the year of not drinking. And then COVID hit.
Mm.
And I was like, nope. I mean, that's where the liquor companies and all the liquor stores, like their prices, they thrived. And I was like, I don't want to just survive in COVID. I want to thrive in
Mm.
my life.
Yes, and all it takes is your own decision. You have to decide for yourself what is it that you want to see in your life. And then you have to be committed to what you just decided, not just saying, but with your action, showing yourself how
Hmm.
important is that for you. And
Hmm.
whatever you did is just an example for people to know that all that we are looking at in our life, it's just something that we have to choose or let go. So it's all a decision. Your decision either to continue in that pattern, continue doing the same, or change something about it. There is no in between. You have to make that choice and to stick with it if you want to see the result. It's not
Yeah,
just about choosing, but also acting upon your choice.
100%, 100%. And change is not easy. And so when you asked me the question about
Mhm.
how did I get the experience from to where I am to my job now, the one thing that kept my mind together going through this major transition in my life from stopping alcohol, stopping triathlon, something
Yeah.
that I thought about for 30 years, and then asking for a divorce. The
Mm.
two things that kept, or the three things that kept my head together was fitness, nutrition, and mindset. Those are the three things, and I talk about this all the
Mm.
time with my clients. That is the glue
Mm.
that kept my mental state together. And then journaling and meditation was also a key role. And so when people ask me, like, well, are you a certified coach? I'm like, yeah, it's called life. I've been
Mhm.
through a lot as a 52-year-old woman, and I've experienced a lot. And I may not resonate with everybody, but what I do resonate with people about is that I finally have learned to live for me and not
Mhm.
for everybody else.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have that idea that, you know, people are judging me for who I am, so I have to behave a certain
Yes.
way, become a person that they want me to be. But is it that you live in your own life or you live in a life for them? Are you becoming a person that you're not? Are you pretending to be somebody else? Or is it really that you love being who you are? So you have to ask yourself a question. What is your why? Why are you doing
Hmm.
certain things in life? Just stop and pause and look around. Whatever you have in your life, you created that, right? So you have to
Yes.
take responsibility first that this is you. And why are you continue doing that? Do you want to have this life or you want to
Hmm.
change something about it? Is it who you are? So I
Hmm.
think this is like a fundamental questions of discovering your own true self and your values in life. What are your
Hmm.
values? So we have to reconnect with those to continue moving forward and really change something about our experiences.
For sure. For sure. And with my clients, I'm like, I need you for 90 days. 90 days. You will start developing a habit. Once those
Mhm.
habits become habits, then they become non-negotiables. You don't even think about it. You just go
Right.
and do it. And one time my mom was here visiting and we were traveling and she was like, maybe you shouldn't work out today. And I'm like, did you just say what you thought I thought you said? No. Like that's a non-negotiable. If we get off on in the car on a little bit later, then that's, but I know who I am. If I don't
Yeah.
get that workout in, I will be grumpy Saurus, and, and that's just who I am. But it's like you said, it's the values, it's the non-negotiables,
Mhm.
and really tapping into who you are and what your potential is. Because one of my favorite quotes, and I don't know who said it, but it said, if it's important to you, you'll find a way.
Yeah.
If it's not important to you, you'll make an excuse.
Right. Yes, and it says it all. We all make up all of those excuses, and they
Oh,
look very, kind of like important for us. And we think this is what stops us from having something in life, either people, circumstances, events, you name it, right? There's
mhm,
always something in on your way to success, right? There's
mhm,
always something. But do you think that you can prepare yourself to overcome this obstacle in your life? Do you think that you are in control, or you are a victim of circumstances, or you
oh,
want to continue to be a victim? Like, again, it's a choice. We
it's a
start with a
choice.
choice, and you can look at it from different perspective. So it's up to you how you decide to look at it.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, that I mean, you're right. You could either be a victim or you can make a change.
Hmm. Yeah, there is always a choice, and we have to first take responsibility to know that there's always a way, and we can
Mhm,
find a way to overcome that obstacle. Maybe we don't know it yet, but there are tools, resources, people out there we can
mhm,
ask for help. Sometimes
mhm,
we like feel that asking for help is sign of weakness. Some,
mhm.
people take it very like it's not that we have to become a victim, right? It's just,
Right.
it's very empowering that we know that we want something, and asking for help is just showing that you really are committed to getting something in life, and you
Mhm,
are not afraid if you don't know certain things, that you can either learn from somebody, or somebody can show you a way. So it's empowering. So we have to look at it from a
very,
different perspective. What are your
for
thoughts on that?
Yes, there's a lot of help out there, and there's also a lot of noise. And
Yeah.
so I'm sure a lot of people are unsure. Well, like, do I go to a therapist? Do I go to a fitness person? Do I do this? Do I do that? And then you also think, well, okay, she's a life coach. What's her certification? I don't know. Like, for me, I think you have to find somebody that helps you and that you can connect with.
Right.
And I feel for the most part, I am more of a, not a therapist because I don't want to use that terms, but I listen
Mm-hmm.
well, and I listen to what people are wanting and what people are needing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to ask for help. I think some of my women that I've connected with, like some of the calls that I've had with them, they don't want to invest in themselves.
Right.
And it makes me so sad because a year from now, they're in that same pattern. They're in that
Mm-hmm.
same pattern. And so, what I do is I help women overcome the fears of starting a new chapter. And that new chapter could be menopause, perimenopausal empty nest syndrome, divorce, loss of a child.
Mm-hmm.
And so, all of a sudden, they want to make a change, and once they start investing in themselves, they start going back to who they were. And so it's very hard for women, is what I've seen, is
Yeah.
to learn how to invest in themselves. So there's plenty of people out there. You just got to figure out what works. Like, you got to put the pieces together. Got to put the pieces together.
Course. And I think especially for women, we tend to please other people, right? So we kind of
100%.
always caring about somebody else but us. So we put ourselves last for some reason and we
Yes.
don't prioritize. But this is what I usually stress, that we have to make ourselves a priority first in
Hmm.
order to see any changes. So for you to really say, I'm important, I matter, I'm worthy of having what I desire in my life. And
Hmm.
I'm here for a reason, right? So
Hmm.
if I have something to share with others, my own gifts, my talents, how can I do this from this point in my life? First, I have to give to myself. First, I
Yes.
have to nourish myself. And then I will be in different position where I can really share that with others.
Hmm. Hmm. And I think with women, once they start making the change within themselves, they start recognizing of who they are. And
Yeah.
they're a better wife, they're a better lover, they're a better friend or daughter, whatever that might be. Maybe they realize that they now have patience to be with their parents or whatever that might be.
Mhm.
And I think it's so important for women to really focus on themselves because once those kids are gone, you go look in that mirror and be like, wait a minute, where did I do? Where did I go?
Mhm.
Who am I?
Yeah.
And it's scary. It's scary.
It is scary because we tend to identify ourselves with a role that we play in our
Right.
life, either being a wife, a mother, or whoever else you are, like in
Hmm.
terms of working, I don't know, a doctor. And
Sure.
then that's all we know. That's our life. We think that this is who we are. But if
Right.
something changes within that role that we're playing, all of a sudden we're lost. We don't have the
Hmm.
identity that we used
Yes.
to have. But this is not who we are at all. It's just the
Hmm.
roles that we're playing. We have to
Correct.
look deeper inside that we always found. We're never lost.
Hmm. Hmm. You got it.
It's
I mean, you
beautiful.
nailed it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
And I just wish everybody would really like have that desire to
I
reconnect with
know.
themselves, to find that treasure within, because
I
that's where it
know.
lies.
Yes. It actually makes me really sad when women will not invest in themselves when I talk to them. And I and when I get to the point where I know they're not going to change until they're absolutely ready, I have to cut them off and say, this is not good. This isn't a good match.
Yeah.
You're not going to change. I've heard the same story within the next, in 20 minutes of our conversations. I go, you're not going to change. I'm here to help you whenever you're ready, but you're not going to change because it's
Yeah.
this, you keep repeating a pattern. You keep taking on that whole victim cycle.
Mhm.
And it's what I've also heard like a feedback loop. You just keep hearing the same pattern over and over, and you keep talking, you get to a point that you're convinced that you can't
Mhm.
change. So it's that growth mindset and it's that fixed mindset. So you got to figure out. And people have asked me, do you think you could go from a fixed to a growth? 100% you can, but you got to
Yeah.
retrain your brain.
Yeah, and I think it starts first with the willingness to change and also
Yes.
supporting yourself with a certain daily habits perhaps you can develop that will really help you to move forward once you
Mhm.
commit on doing something on a daily basis,
Mhm.
really like not just once or twice but to see the result at least like first 30 days. If you change something about your routine,
Mhm.
perhaps it could be diet, exercise, meditation, whatever you mentioned are the tools that really like help you to become aware, right? So once you
Correct.
have that awareness, your presence here, perhaps you start recognizing your thought patterns. You start seeing something that you
Mhm.
never seen before. And
Mhm.
that could be your breakthrough. You can redirect yourself to a different path. but
Mhm.
something has to change and you have to make certain steps towards that change.
Correct. Correct.
But it is possible for every one of us.
Very
It's
possible.
not something like you've been born with, like we're
Right.
not special. Nobody's special here. We're just talking about becoming a person that you wish to see, your higher self, like your
Mhm.
better version. But you
Yes.
have to make some adjustments. You have to work towards that, especially on your mindset internally. But
Mhm.
again, like making yourself a priority, giving yourself that time, this is how
Mhm.
you know it's important for you and you are
Correct.
committed to that change. And with that commitment, every type of practitioner that you choose that resonate with you, right? Again, that person just becomes your the person just holds space for you to really like
Mhm.
reflect and see for yourself. It's always about you. You have to discover within yourself
Yeah.
what you already have. And usually another person just reflects something to you to see and recognize.
Yeah.
And it's all about your growth.
For sure. It's as a life coach, I am your mirror. And
Yeah.
I will call you out on the bullshit stories that you're telling yourself.
Right.
And they may not like it. They, you know, but I have to. I have to. And then I have some clients that reach out to me and thank me for the growth or the what they've gone through. And it's like I'm just providing the tools and the guidance for you.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all are making the change.
Yeah.
But I also have clients that are not making a change and they're in that constant victim mode. And it's very hard to coach, but I also have to realize that there are those people that maybe I can help them. Maybe I can get them through some things. But if they're not going to want to make that change for themselves, then they're going to be in that loop, that constant loop.
Definitely. And I'm so glad we had that conversation today. For those who would like to connect with you online, how can they
Yeah,
find you?
of course. You can always go to jenrulon.com, JenRulon.com. You could go, I am very active on Instagram for Coach Jen Rulon. I'm also active on TikTok. I do TikTok lives quite a bit, and we talk exactly what we talk about. We talk about the victim mentality, the growth mindset. We talk really dig deep. So, but then there's times we'll talk about music. So it just depends on what's going on that day. But TikTok live, and then you could also go to Facebook, Jen Rulon as well. So I believe I'm Coach Jen Rulon on Facebook, but most social medias. But my biggest platforms are my website, my Instagram, and my TikTok. Also, you could go to Amazon. You could type in Jen Rulon. I have 3 books out there. I get very little residuals for the first 2. Those were self-published, but
Mm,
my third one was with a publisher. It's called Self Motivation Strategies for Women. And it's not just for women, it's also for men. It's one of those books that you could just open up and sort of scroll through and be like, all right, I'm going to work on this today. So,
nice. Thank you so
yeah,
much. I'm gonna
you're
add it to
welcome.
the show notes as
Great.
well. And as we close today, what would be the final thoughts for our listeners?
Going through some of my most difficult times in the last 5 years, or especially, I should say, going through the divorce, going through the separation, I started saying 3 thank yous every morning and every night. I started expressing gratitude
Mm,
and express gratitude when you're going through the hardest times, express gratitude whenever whenever you're just standing there, express gratitude in the most beautiful times in your life. And how I did this is I said, I'm grateful for my past, for showing me what I've done, who I become, my lessons learned. I'm grateful for the now. The now would be talking to you, Anna, talking to the followers, having a roof over my head, being able the opportunity to take my coffee to the beach this morning and meditate. That's my now. And then I'm also grateful or thankful for my future. I have no idea what my future holds. and I don't need to know anymore. But what I do know is that it's going to be beautiful.
Mm. Yes, thank you so much. I
You're
hope you
welcome.
enjoy your day.
Thank you. You too.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, hit the subscribe button and share it with others. Stay tuned.